The Vorakan dreadnought split the blackness of space like a hammer through glass, its hull bristling with weapons designed to tear moons apart. In the silence of Earth's upper orbit, it moved without hurry, without fear. It had no need for either. It carried death, and death feared nothing. High Predator Zerkath stood tall at the command deck, armored plates of bone and steel flexing as he sneered at the blue marble below. His 6 golden eyes scanned data streams about humanity. Primitive engines, crude cities, flesh barely stronger than wax. They barely deserve the name species, Zerkath growled, voice like metal grinding on stone. The officers around him laughed, throaty, cruel sounds. This was not conquest. It was pest control. A sensor alert blinked once, an anomaly inside their ship. Zerkath waved it off. A speck. Nothing more. Below them, Earth remained oblivious. Or so they thought. Commander Elias Vance crouched inside the maintenance shafts, a thin layer of stealth mesh shimmering over his armor. His breathing was slow, calm. Every move was deliberate. Behind him, his team waited, silent, invisible. He tapped his comms once. Phase 1. Begin. Tiny shaped charges whispered through the ship's arterial corridors, severing security feeds and crippling the internal detection nets. Doors unlocked. Lights flickered. To the Vorakan, it would look like technical failure, a rare, but not impossible glitch. Complacency was the oldest enemy. Vance smiled grimly behind his visor. Let them think it was chance. Let them believe they were still gods. High Predator Zerkath noticed the first real error 30 minutes later. A patrol failed to report in. Another sensor field dropped offline. Systems built to withstand planetary bombardments were flickering like candles. He rose from his throne, tail lashing once. Lock the corridors. Deploy seekers? He barked. Soldiers snapped to motion, obeying with the speed of those who had never known true defeat. Within minutes, Vorakan hunters, 9 feet tall, armored in living metal, swept the passageways, their senses sharpened to bloodlust. But blood would not come easily tonight. Vance's team moved like shadows. No gunfire. No alarms. Only the quiet, efficient removal of the enemy one unit at a time. Every takedown was surgical, knives into joints, silenced flechette bursts to nerve clusters. The Vorakan were strong, fast, but predictable. Predictability was a death sentence. Sergeant Keeley patched through a whisper on comms. 2 squads down. No alerts. Vance tapped twice in acknowledgement. Stay unpredictable. Leave a message. At Junction 17B, where a slaughtered Vorakan lay in a twisted heap, the humans painted 4 crude words on the bulkhead in fluorescent blood. We are not your prey. It took 20 minutes for the Vorakan to find it. When they did, silence spread through the dreadnought like a disease. Zerkath stared at the wall. The letters burned into his mind, mocking him. Threats were nothing new. Insults were common from defeated species, the desperate howls of broken animals. But this was different. These humans were inside his fortress. They had struck, taunted, and vanished again without a trace. That should have been impossible. Primitive insects, he hissed. Yet there was a crack in his voice that hadn't been there an hour ago. An officer approached, cautious. High Predator, we have no visuals on the intruders. Their movements defy prediction. Zerkath turned slowly, towering over him. Then unleash the hounds. The officer hesitated. Permission to deploy wargrade hounds inside the ship? Zerkath's clawed hand crushed the officer's datapad into powder. Now. The hounds, engineered monstrosities of flesh and machine, unleashed from their pens with a roar that shook the walls. 2 meters tall, loaded with sensory augments and razored limbs, they were bred for one purpose: to hunt and kill anything with a pulse. Within minutes, snarling packs raced through the corridors, flooding the air with chemical markers and hunting pheromones. Vance watched them from the ventilation slits, assessing. They're desperate, Keeley said, voice low. Desperation makes them predictable, Vance replied. Set traps. Let them think they're winning. He uploaded a short sequence into the ship's maintenance AIs: micro malfunctions, false doors, lights going dead at the wrong moment. The humans slipped deeper into the ship, always just out of sight, always just out of reach. Hound after hound lunged at phantoms, triggered traps, and fell. A steel door snapped shut behind a hunting pack, and an explosive rig turned them into a smear of burning wreckage. Another wall melted away into acid mist, swallowing soldiers alive. Panic spread in the lower decks. Word traveled faster than orders. For the first time, Vorakan soldiers hesitated at intersections, second-guessed dark corridors. Fear, cold, alien fear, was rooting itself inside them. At the command bridge, Zerkath watched casualty reports stream across the screens. Sections falling silent. Squads vanishing without any gunfights. Death without warning. This was not war. It was a ghost moving through his ship. Zerkath snarled, baring rows of serrated fangs. His pride demanded immediate retaliation, but instinct, deeper, older, whispered caution. He silenced it. Pride had carried the Vorakan to galactic dominance. Pride would save them now. He leaned forward, claws digging into the thrown arms. Seal the bulkheads. Force them into kill zones. I want these insects shredded and their bones displayed on my walls. The officers scrambled to obey, locking down decks, funneling possible escape routes. Vance, already 3 steps ahead, watched from a hidden access panel. He mapped the choke points in his HUD, grinned behind the helmet. They're building their own coffin, he murmured. One of his team, Corporal Reeve, chuckled softly. Should we thank them? Vance shook his head. Let's finish the job first. He dropped into the maintenance shaft below, silent as mist, moving toward the heart of the ship where Zerkath awaited, unaware he was now the prey. Earth had sent a message with these infiltrators. Tonight the galaxy's most feared predators would learn. Humans didn't fight fair. They fought to win. And they were very, very good at it. The ship's corridors pulsed red under emergency lighting, casting long, fractured shadows against the steel walls. Somewhere deep in the decks, alarms droned, a slow, mournful sound that didn't warn of intruders anymore. It warned of something far worse: uncertainty. Commander Elias Vance crouched behind a reinforced bulkhead, HUD mapping the corridors and shifting blue lines. Around him, his team prepared the next stage without a word. Each man and woman knew the stakes. They weren't just fighting to win, they were fighting to erase themselves from the enemy's mind as prey. Targets inbound, whispered Keeley. 6 Vorakan, 2 hounds. Heavy armor. No heat signatures trailing. Vance nodded once, calculating. No mistakes. No heroics. Only victory. He adjusted the charge planted against the floor seam and tapped his comm. Detonate on my mark. Prepare fallback to Sector 9. The team faded into vents and crawlways, disappearing like ghosts. Footsteps thundered toward them. The Vorakan warriors, massive in their bioforged suits, stalked forward in tight formation, weapons scanning arcs of lethal coverage. A hound sniffed the air, growling low, sensing traces of human movement. It was the last sound it ever made. Vance's thumb pressed the detonator. The floor beneath the hounds liquefied into molten slag. Gravity betrayed them. Both beasts tumbled into a maintenance shaft glowing white-hot with thermite reactions, vaporizing before they could scream. The Vorakan soldiers froze, but hesitation cost them. The corridor's magnetic field buckled violently, throwing 2 into opposite walls with bone-crushing force. Keeley's voice crackled through comms. 4 left. Vance moved, fluid and silent. His blade found the weak joint behind the nearest Vorakan's knee. One precise twist, severed tendons, crippled stance. Another flick, severed throat, arterial spray hissing against the deck. The humans withdrew again, leaving confusion and blood in their wake. High Predator Zerkath smashed his clawed fist through a holographic console, sparks showering the bridge. How? He roared. No answer came. His officers, bred from birth to know only obedience and conquest, had no blueprint for an enemy like this. Zerkath turned slowly, breathing heavily, his armored frame casting a monstrous shadow. "They move like vermin, but strike like assassins," he growled. "I will not be hunted on my own ship." He drew his twin warblades, blades that had once beheaded planetary rulers and public executions. "Summon the Blood Guard. Full deployment. I want their skulls." The order shot through the ship like an electric pulse. Elite units stirred from cryovaults, hulking soldiers twice the size of baseline Vorakan, each veteran of 100 planetary exterminations. But the more muscle Zerkath threw into the hunt, the more the humans twisted the game against him. Sector by sector, the dreadnought turned into a battlefield of Vance's choosing. Hallways flooded with artificial fog, cloaking visibility. Magnetic mines detonated near exposed conduits, lashing arcs of electricity into squads. Acoustic decoys mimicked human movements, leading soldiers into carefully prepared death traps, acid pits, vacuum-sealed bulkheads, sabotage lifts that plummeted them into darkness. Every success bred more panic. Every loss sharpened Vance's edge. Reeve reported in a hushed tone. 2 Blood Guard units eliminated. No survivors. No alarm. Vance allowed a rare, thin smile. Keep the pressure. Fear is the weapon. He checked his HUD. Time was tight. Too much noise, and they risked alerting the Empire beyond this ship. The longer Zerkath remained distracted, the closer they came to full collapse. In one devastated corridor near the engineering decks, Vorakan soldiers clustered behind makeshift barricades, weapons primed. They snarled and snapped at every flicker of movement, tension turning blood-hot in their veins. A clatter of boots echoed through the mist ahead. Weapons locked on target. Triggers twitched. Then nothing. The noise repeated. From behind this time. Then again, from above. Their formations broke. From hidden vents, human operatives dropped in precision strikes. Quiet blades severed arteries, suppressed rounds punched through vital organs. In less than a minute, 18 Vorakan bodies hit the floor. Not a single human casualty. Keely wiped her blade clean, breathing steady. Sector clear. Vance marked it on his HUD. Only 5 major areas remained. Each cleared zone tightened the noose around Zerkath's command post. Back at the bridge, Zerkath seethed in mounting fury. Footage played across cracked monitors, entire squads gutted, elite guards butchered, sensor ghosts leading hunting parties into oblivion. He slammed a clawed fist against the ship's comms array, opening a fleet-wide broadcast. "Enough hiding!" he snarled into the void. "Face me, cowards! Show yourselves, and I will grant you the mercy of a quick death." Silence answered him. Then, deep within the bridge's walls, a single transmission bled into the main speakers, an old Terran Earth recording, staticky and cold. A child's voice, giggling. "Ring around the rosy, pocket full of posies." Zerkath's eyes narrowed. "Ashes, ashes." The command deck lights flickered. "We all fall down." The blast doors behind him shuddered violently. Vance's team worked with brutal efficiency. Charges placed. Routes mapped. Every exit accounted for. This wasn't random chaos. It was surgical dissection. Zerkath was being herded, funneled into a final, chosen kill box. Vance's voice crackled over team comms. "Final phase initiated. No mercy." Around them, the ship groaned and trembled, as if sensing its doom. Keely chuckled dryly. "First they hunted us. Now they're begging for a chance to hide." Vance's voice was ice. "No hiding. No escape." He slipped through the shattered ventilation system toward the bridge access. The air smelled of ozone, blood, and burning fear. Behind him, Earth's silent vengeance moved closer, step by step. Tonight, humanity taught the galaxy a new law: predators could bleed. And humans never stopped until the last drop spilled. Smoke curled through the ship's corridors, thick and acrid. Systems flickered on and off like a dying animal's heartbeat. The mighty Vorakan dreadnought, a vessel built to enforce terror across the galaxy, now moaned like a broken beast, confused and bleeding. Commander Vance stalked the shadowed halls, his HUD slicing through the gloom with surgical clarity. His team fanned out, silent and invisible, tightening the perimeter around the final bastions of resistance. Vorakan communications are scrambling, Keeley reported. Mixed orders. Panic levels spiking. Vance smirked grimly. Good. Keep feeding them noise. Reeve uploaded the next cycle of psychological warfare. Across the ship's intercoms, a new sound echoed, not threats, not demands, laughter. Human laughter. Low, mocking, endless. The mighty blood guards, trained to fear nothing, twitched at every whisper of sound. Their formation discipline dissolved. They broke into splintered hunting packs, each suspicious of the others, driven by fear instead of strategy. Vance's plan unfolded perfectly. Not brute force. Not overwhelming numbers. Mind games. He was turning the hunters into prey, one breakdown at a time. On the bridge, Zerkath bellowed orders into the chaos, but fewer and fewer of his soldiers responded. The ship's internal map, once neatly organized into regimented squads, now looked like a shattered spider web. He slammed his fists onto the navigation console, sparks leaping up around him. "This is a trick," he roared to no one in particular. "A magician's trick! Nothing more!" But the doubt gnawed at him. Screens showed false readings, ghost images of human forces appearing simultaneously across multiple sectors. Energy signatures flickered, faked by jammers Vance's team had seeded throughout the ship. Zerkath snarled in frustration. "Do not believe your eyes!" he barked into fleet-wide comms. "Hunt by instinct! Trust nothing else!" No response. The last thing he heard on the open channel before it cut was a Vorakan soldier, breathless and broken, muttering. "They're everywhere." Vance advanced steadily, step by step. Every room they passed had the same story: wreckage, bodies, shattered pride. Yet there was no triumph in his stride, only grim efficiency. "Command node is 2 levels up," Keeley said. "Zerkath is probably barricaded in." Vance tapped a sequence into his gauntlet. "Flood the ventilation systems. Knock out gas. Keep it slow. Let them marinate in it." Invisible streams of paralytic mist crept through the ship's arteries, unseen but lethal over time. Another pressure on the enemy's mind. Another whisper of doom. Keeley checked her weapon. "You think he'll surrender?" Vance's voice was a blade. "No. Surrender wasn't in creatures like Zerkath. Death was the only negotiation they understood." In the middecks, a cluster of blood guard rallied around a defensive checkpoint, an impromptu redoubt of scorched metal and welded cargo crates. Corporal Reeve studied them through a cracked viewing slit. 20 hostiles. Heavy armament. Defensive position. Could slow us down. Vance crouched beside him, scanning. No frontal assault. Split them. He overlaid a plan on the HUD, feigned retreat routes, explosive traps disguised as salvage, false thermal signatures to bait them into dispersal. Within minutes, chaos bloomed. The blood guards, hungry for any tangible target, surged after phantom contacts. Tripwires detonated behind them. Pressure mines tore holes through armor plates. The humans never appeared, only the consequences of chasing ghosts. By the time the sector fell silent again, only the humans remained standing. Zerkath's breathing rasped through his helmet. He had sealed the bridge, locking out even his own officers, but the walls seemed to close in tighter with every passing minute. The ship's AI core, built with redundancy across 9 independent systems, now showed only static. The final insult came when the main view screen, once filled with tactical data, flickered and changed. A single image filled the bridge, Earth. Beautiful, wild, defiant. Underneath it, in human script, glowed 4 words. "You chose the wrong species." Zerkath roared, shredding the console with his claws. Fear, foreign and acidic, clawed at his mind. How had these fragile bipeds, barely a cosmic afterthought, twisted the fabric of war itself? How had they taken his strength and turned it against him? His instincts screamed the answer: because they are not prey. Vance's team breached the outer corridors of the bridge deck with silent precision. Small charges peeled back blast doors like fruit skin. No alarms. No resistance. The ship felt abandoned now, except for the stench of desperation bleeding from the command core. Vance tightened his grip on his rifle. Last push, he said quietly. No mistakes. Keeley tapped his shoulder once, a soldier's nod. They moved forward, step by step, into the dragon's throat. Inside the command center, Zerkath paced like a caged beast, warblades drawn, eyes scanning every corner. He smelled it: metal, sweat, human presence. They were coming. But this time, he would face them. He would carve their leader's head from his body and hang it from the viewing mast. He would. A hiss behind him. He spun. Nothing. Another hiss, to his left. He slashed out blindly, cutting nothing but air. Footsteps, too soft for his augmented ears to pin down, echoed around him. His heart, engineered to withstand battle frenzy, stuttered in his chest. The walls themselves seemed alive, whispering, laughing. In that moment, High Predator Zerkath, executioner of 10 civilizations, felt the simple, terrible truth root deep inside him. He had lost. He hadn't been defeated in combat. He had been undone, piece by piece, thought by thought, until nothing remained of his certainty but trembling rage. The final bulkhead behind him exploded inward. A human silhouette stepped through the mist, tall, steady, rifle lowered but ready. Vance. Zerkath roared and charged, blades flashing. Vance didn't flinch. He sidestepped, calm as gravity, firing a single shot that crippled Zerkath's leading leg. The Vorakan stumbled, screeched, spun. Another shot shattered the weapon from his clawed hands. Now, face to face, predator against predator. Vance stared into those burning gold eyes and said the words that would echo across history. You were never the apex. He raised his rifle. Zerkath lunged with a desperate snarl. And the bridge lights died with a single, final gunshot. The silence of the bridge was suffocating, broken only by the soft hum of failing systems and the slow drip of blood from the massive figure slumped in the center. Zerkath, the high predator of the Vorakan Empire, the terror of 1,000 worlds, was kneeling in defeat. Commander Elias Vance stood over him, rifle steady in his hands, eyes cold but resolute. The storm of battle had long since passed, leaving only the ruins of what had once been an unstoppable force. Zerkath's golden eyes flickered, rage still burning but tempered by the sharp edge of realization. The blood drained from his body as he collapsed forward, the weight of failure too much for even his genetically enhanced frame to bear. You don't get it, do you? Vance's voice cut through the stillness, low and unyielding. You were never the apex. You were never the ones at the top. Zerkath's breath was labored, each inhale sharp, pained. His blade arm quivered, but he couldn't rise. His body, once so imposing, was now little more than a crumpled wreck. The Vorakan growled, his voice a hoarse rasp. You are nothing, just fragile flesh. Vance crouched, leveling the barrel of his rifle at Zerkath's head, his finger never wavering. That's where you're wrong. It's not our flesh that defines us, it's our will. The Vorakan snarled, but the fire in his eyes was fading. He knew the truth now. He'd come for humanity expecting an easy slaughter. He thought they were weak, unworthy of attention, a blip in the galaxy's vastness. Now he lay, broken and humiliated, a mere shell of the monster he had once been. Behind Vance, the rest of the team moved through the debris-strewn corridors, securing the final sectors. Every step, every breath, confirmed what they already knew: victory was inevitable. The Vorakan were finished. The Galactic Empire that had once ruled with fear, with dominance, now stood at the edge of collapse. Zerkath's death would be the catalyst. The message would spread across the stars like wildfire. Humans, fragile, young, and underestimated, had toppled the greatest military force in the galaxy. Keeley's voice crackled through Vance's comms. Bridge secure. No more hostiles in sight. Vance didn't look up, his eyes never leaving Zerkath's fading gaze. Confirm all systems are locked. We're not leaving anything behind. Already done. They won't be able to send a single distress signal. We've wiped their systems clean. Vance nodded, satisfied but not content. He had his victory, but this wasn't about personal glory. This was about sending a message that would resonate through every corner of the galaxy. On the bridge, the last remnants of the Vorakan command crew were scattered, unconscious or worse. Vance activated the ship's broadcast system, his voice booming across the vessel's intercom, carrying far beyond its steel walls. "This is Commander Elias Vance, of the United Human Forces. To the remaining Vorakan fleets in this sector and beyond, hear this: you thought you could break us. You thought we were beneath you. You thought you were the apex predators." Vance paused, his words echoing through the hull, cutting through the dead silence like a blade. "You were wrong. If you come for us again, bring more coffins. Humanity is not your prey. We are the hunters now." As the final words left Vance's mouth, the bridge lights flickered and hummed back to life. The Vorakan dreadnought, once a symbol of unstoppable might, now stood at the mercy of humanity. The ship's core had been thoroughly dismantled, its weapons systems disabled. No fleet, no reinforcements could reach them in time. Zerkatha's body lay still at Vance's feet. His blood pooled beneath him, staining the deck. The great predator, the executioner of thousands, was nothing now but a broken memory, a symbol of arrogance and pride undone by the very creatures he had dismissed. Vance holstered his rifle, his expression unreadable. "Let's go home." Keeley, ever the pragmatist, raised an eyebrow. "And let the galaxy know we've taken their biggest predator out?" Vance's lips curled slightly. "We've already sent that message. Now we ensure it's heard." As the team gathered their gear and began preparations to leave, Vance couldn't help but glance once more at Zerkatha's lifeless form. The Vorakan had underestimated humanity in every possible way. They had underestimated their will to survive, their cunning, their adaptability. The Vorakan Empire had fallen long before they knew it. Back on Earth, the news of humanity's victory spread like wildfire. Broadcasts beamed across the planet, filling every screen with the image of the Vorakan dreadnought, now a hulk of twisted metal and shattered pride. The people watched, stunned and in disbelief, as the human forces emerged victorious over a threat that had once seemed insurmountable. The political leaders of Earth, still adjusting to the reality of their newfound power, scrambled to maintain control. They had underestimated the human spirit too, for it was not the military strength or advanced technology that had won the day. It was the resolve to fight, to never back down, to never accept the role of prey. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, not as subjugated beings, but as the new rulers of their fate. The galaxy would never forget the day when humanity rose from the depths of the Empire's disdain and shattered their greatest predator. The Vorakan Empire had thought it could rule the stars. But it had learned a hard lesson. The universe had a new apex predator. As the sun set over the human colonies on Mars, Vance stood on the observation deck, staring into the distance. Behind him, the hustle of humanity's rebuilding efforts continued, preparations for a new era, a new future. Keeley approached, her face stoic but filled with an unspoken respect. "You know, they'll never see it coming. They'll never understand how we did it." Vance turned to face her, his eyes distant but steady. "They don't need to. We've made our statement. Now, it's up to the rest of the galaxy to figure out where they stand." Keeley smiled slightly. "And we'll be ready." Vance nodded. "Always." The stars outside glittered with untold possibilities, vast and infinite. For humanity, this was only the beginning.